quick note before we start the video. I realized that after editing the entire thing, it is NVIDIA, not NVIDIA. My apologies, but the function of the video is the same. Enjoy. We need to talk about NVIDIA, guys. For the last year, no 3 years, well actually for the greater part of the last 2 decades, ticker NVDA has been on an absolute rampage. For most on WallStreetBets, it's been a wealth creation machine, but a few retards have of course somehow managed to destroy their portfolios with it anyway. Today on Gigastonks, we're going to look at 10 case studies of WallStreetBets users and see what positions they entered and how it all played out for them in the end. Remember, this is not financial advice, and if you end up putting your life savings into Nvidia at an all-time high, that's your fault and not mine. Let's get started with the video. We'll start first with a juicy gain from Eternal Optimist 85. Not exactly the brightest kid on the block at first glance. I mean, Eternal didn't know what the water dispenser was on the side of their refrigerator and turned to Reddit for help. I also didn't exactly like to see these two posts in their history back to back to each other, but this is a financial analysis channel, so we'll fast forward to the Nvidia post. I gotta give Eternal Optimist 85 some credit here for buying in at an average cost of $7.86 for 422 shares. That cost them a little over $3,000. Fast forward 9 years where they really didn't do anything besides hold, chill out, and occasionally post something strange on Reddit. Eternal Optimist paycheck that they invested initially turned into a year's salary. With Nvidia priced at 171 per share at the time of the screenshots, Eternal Optimist's holdings were now worth over $72,000, over a 2,000% return on the initial investment. Definitely a learning moment in the comments as Flashman H asked why they put Nvidia in their brokerage account instead of their IRA. At a surface level, that doesn't seem like a terrible question. If the gains were made in an IRA, then OP wouldn't have had to pay taxes on the gains. But Eternal Optimist set the record straight, claiming that it's never dumb to turn $3,000 into $70,000. And if your argument is that I should have done it in my IRA for the tax savings, then I may as well not make any money in a brokerage account because I could be taxed. I can only put so much money into my Roth, and I'm actually less comfortable having my retirement money into individual stocks, specifically because I can only contribute so much. So yeah, with complete foresight on how this would grow, tax savings would be cool, but if I had that information, I'd also have invested way more money. If it didn't work out well, I can make up that contribution because of contribution limits, whereas I can fund my brokerage all day long. The TLDR is that if you're going to take a balls to the wall kind of approach in your investing, doing so in a brokerage account is often the smarter move because there is no limit to the contributions if you don't perform how you want to. After all, Eternal Optimist couldn't have predicted this 2,000% gain in Nvidia, otherwise they would have probably pulled together more than just $3,000 to invest initially. Next up, we'll meet LTC 1199. I have to wonder if the LTC stands for Litecoin. LTC is an Overwatch fan who purchased 1,000 shares of Nvidia back in April of 2016. This is giving me so much freaking FOMO to even read this. The shares are now worth $171,000. As you can see with the Eternal Optimist and now LTC, they made options-like returns just from buying shares. This goes to show how crazy the Nvidia returns have been for its holders the last several years. WallStreetBets commenter, aptly named Stonk vs. Tits, posted the image we were all probably thinking of when we saw LTC's multi-bagger. And now for even more gains, here's ShelixAnakasian, a 9-year Reddit user whose first request is strange, to say the least. I'm sure Shelix is having a field day now with AI-generated images. I tried for you, pal. ChatGPT said it violated their policy, but Gemini actually created the image for your prompt. What do you think is better, the Gemini version that I've got on the right, or what a random user in I Can Draw That created on the left? Shelix also owed a ton in taxes that he couldn't afford. No surprise, he's a degenerate gambler as well. So when Shelix posted that they, quote, won the Nvidia lottery, I had to see for myself what all the fuss was about. However, I was disappointed to see that the positions shown didn't show the entry price, only that they tried and failed to limit sell at 166 and then ended up retracting with some good Nvidia news and selling at 172. That's great and all until you see that they entered at 170. So basically about 307K in and about 313K out. A lot of trouble for a measly 6K gain. Next up, let's meet Conscious Bench 8423. They don't have much of a post history, but finally they get to show us a more realistic, attainable options play for those of us who didn't get in early on the Nvidia train and stockpile shares. Conscious Bench purchased 10 contracts of $167 calls expiring July 18th. It doesn't say when they bought the contract, but they sold it on July 15th, 3 days to expiration, after the massive jump in share price overnight, pocketing $4,400 or a $2,600 gain. That's a pretty quick and easy 151% if you ask me. User Ryuji Star asked when they bought, but there was no answer. Oh well, on to the next user. Agile Lingonberry 704 is a Reddit user who posts about one of two topics. The first is how to replace toilet rings, pictures of the situation and all. And then the second is butterflies. No, not the insect type. It's a butterfly spread, which is a type of option spread. A spread is when you have multiple options strategically in your position at the same time, kind of like a straddle, an iron condor, or a credit spread, if you've heard of those before. For example, the long call butterfly spread includes one in the money call that you long, one out of the money call that you long, while you short two at the money calls. There are multiple types of butterfly spreads though, from the short call to the long put to the short put, the iron butterfly spread, and the reverse iron butterfly spread. Explaining the exact logistics of when to open one versus the other is a topic for another video, but Agile Lingonberry longed mostly in the money calls while shorting two at the money calls with varying expirations. It's sort of like hitting the gas and the brake financially at the same time. I'm not even sure why he did this. His wins on the long calls outweighed his losses on the short calls by about $600, which is nice. Who doesn't want $600 until you realize that he risked like $50,000 to make peanuts. Even WallStreetBets saw the retardation in the play, so you risked $50K to make $600. This is the dumbest thing I've seen all day. Bro thought he made a 200 IQ play. I definitely see the point in butterfly spreads in general, but why Agile jumped into this position as well as a similar butterfly spread in Palantir, it's a mystery to me. If you're enjoying the content so far, hit like and subscribe for more speculative investing analysis from Gigastonks. Next up is Cool Daniel 6. I'm just going to be calling him Diamond Hands Daniel. Daniel seems to have learned some of the fundamentals of investing, or at least he's not your average degenerate, from diversifying his portfolio with bank stocks, to questions about ETFs, to learning about volatility. Daniel started to see his due diligence pay off with some gains. He turned 23K into 35K with Microsoft calls, 1,500 into 5K with D-Wave Quantum. And now with Nvidia, Cool Daniel bought $150 calls back when Nvidia was trading at $130 in December. The calls expired in December of 2025, so while Theta wasn't exactly eating him alive yet, I'm sure he started to develop a knot in his stomach when Nvidia dropped to 110, 100, and then eventually $94 right after Liberation Day. But Diamond Hands Daniel held strong despite being 40% under his break-even price of 163, and the holding paid off. Daniel claims he never panicked and even bought more through the tariff panic. By mid-July, his 46K investment/gamble had grown to $115,000. It goes to show that with LEAP options, which stands for long-term equity anticipation securities, unlike a short-term play, you may not exactly want to hold your leaps to zero, but you don't necessarily have to sell just because your position went down. Go in with a plan and stick to it. Next up is Chesapeake Ripper 18, a huge cricket fan and a Dubai and London resident. Chesapeake bought some Nvidia $95 calls back in May, quickly turning 2K into 4K. So why exactly would Chesapeake turn around and buy Nvidia puts in July, along with some CoreWeave puts for good measure? I have no idea. They took the gains they made and some, 7K locked and loaded in the position, and lost over half of it at the time of posting. With only 38% of the position, or $2,700 remaining, WallStreetBets asks, "Are you an idiot?" Another user exclaims that playing puts when Nvidia is on a run like this is just dumb. Trust me, I threw away thousands chasing the bubble pop before. Back to the bright side of Nvidia, calls and tendies only, ficomacchia bought some $165 calls recently and watched them print over 250%, turning roughly $5,700 into almost 24K. I'm not even sure what app he's using. It's certainly not as intuitive as a Robinhood or Fidelity, but OP was feeling pretty elated, exclaiming that Nvidia has, quote, flown him to the moon. One more ugly loss from behind the Wendy's dumpster, that anonymous guy 18 is a long-term degenerate who has been in the options and WallStreetBets subreddits for over 4 years. On top of that, he allegedly spent over 4K on beer in a single year. Some health experts say to walk to clear your head and improve your mental ideation, and while that certainly works for me, it's apparently not doing the trick for that anonymous guy. Fast forward several dozen introspective walks, and a humble that anonymous guy came to WallStreetBets to exclaim, "Never to sell covered calls against Nvidia or NVDL, which is a 2x leveraged Nvidia derivative." He opened the position, shorted calls, and a few weeks ago he received $1,200 as a premium. Basically now he owned negative 12 calls, so if the calls went up, he was fucked. Now he owes $11,000 and hopefully doesn't get margin called. Don't feel too bad if you don't understand what I said about the covered calls. Like OP said, at least you can't lose money that way then. And for our final trade of the day, meet leachdogg, who's been consistently winning from CoreWeave calls to AMD calls, and now Nvidia. Leachdogg is either pretty smart or consistently lucky. With the position now worth $20K, leachdogg's unrealized gain is $11,800, meaning that they had invested about $8K to begin with. It doesn't say when the position was opened, but leachdogg had bought $160 calls expiring on July 18th, likely sometime earlier in July. With those kinds of tendies, one commenter suggested that he should buy a leather jacket with Jensen's name on it or get banned. That's all for today. Comment below if you've been long Nvidia, sitting on the sidelines getting FOMO like me, or were you one of the degens who shorted? Make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you soon.
我知道你们去过。好 ，Get ready. Okay, here we go. Play it.
I am here at computers. I will make you like me first. Yeah, sing it with me. I really.
This is the part. This is the part.
Like NVDA.
All right. Very good. Very good. Good job.